my name is Tessa McKelliget, and I'm from Brisbane, Australia, and I work at Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary.
Hello, I'm John Rossi. I'm a touring drummer with a passion for animal conservation. When I'm on the road, I spend as much time as possible visiting zoos, aquariums, and conservation organizations. Now, I want to share those places with you. I'll be talking to keepers, vets, conservationists, anyone who can help me in my mission of connecting my people to animals through their people. Join me on my Rossifari. Hello, 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 and welcome back to the Rossifari podcast. All right, y'all, so this has been an absolutely incredible week in which I have been partnering with the team at Trainer Talks and Tales, an Australian-based training podcast. It's been an absolute blast, and in case you missed it, 1 week ago on Tuesday, I had one of the hosts of the podcast, Daisy Barrett, on Rossifari. Then on Thursday, I was the guest on their podcast, Trainer Talks and Tales. And then on Friday, Daisy, along with her co-host Tess, were the co-hosts of Rossifari Zoo News. It's been an absolute blast, and now it is the time for the final podcast in the collaboration. At least for now. I'm sure we're going to do more down the road. But I am really excited to bring you my interview with Tessa McKelliget, who, along with co-hosting the podcast, also works at Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary in Australia. This facility is one that you have probably never heard of, and it is amazing. You are going to learn so much cool stuff about Lone Pine that you are definitely going to want to go there when you listen to this episode. And I got to tell y'all, this is a really fun episode. Tess and I had a blast. We play a game at the beginning that had us in stitches and that I hope makes you laugh as well. And we just talked about some amazing animals. I mean, this one has it all, y'all. This has koalas, a tree kangaroo species that even if you've listened to the podcast, you may not have heard much about before. Free flight raptor training, and just a lot of laughs along the way. So I'm really excited to share this with you. Quick reminder to make sure that you subscribe to Rossifari wherever you get your podcasts, and also make sure that you subscribe to Trainer Talks and Tales. I promise you, you are going to love that podcast as well. And also make sure that you follow along on social medias at Rossifari and at Trainer Talks and Tales. And so without further ado, here is my interview with Tessa McKelliget of the Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary.
We're the world's first and largest koala sanctuary, so we only have Australian wildlife, and I work with the raptors there. So head raptor keeper, we have 2 bird shows a day demonstrating the free flight behaviors and natural behaviors of 13 individuals, about 8 different species. And yeah, I absolutely love it.
That's awesome. I'm really excited about free flight stuff. So I'm really looking forward to chatting. And you are also the co-host of
Trainer Talks and Tales. Absolutely. We had the pleasure of having you on our podcast a couple of days ago. So it's fun to be on yours.
Yeah, I'm excited about this collab. It's very cool. Now, actually, so we're going to do something I've never done on here before. I felt like I had to mess with you a little bit.
Oh, gosh.
The eyes are getting big. And it's not even having a pajama party because, y'all, I'm recording this at 4:20 in the morning, my time, and we are having a pajama party. But I've even done that with people before. So, no, the other night when we recorded my episode of your podcast, you said that you were like charmed by my use of y'all. So in light of that, and in the fact that y'all start your podcast with your Fast 5 questions, we're going to start with something similar but different. A game about the language barrier between our countries, despite the fact that we all speak English. I am calling this Down Understand. Hey.
Yes.
And yes, so we've got 5 questions for you.
I love it.
Number 1. If I said that someone screwed the pooch, what do you think I mean?
I have heard this one before. It gets me every time. Stuffs up? Like they're stuffed up?
Stuffs up? No, it's unless stuffs up means something different for you, but like it's like when you like did something really bad, like messed something up really terribly. Is that stuff?
Yeah, like stuffs up. Like you've like stuffed up, like you've messed up.
See, stuffed up for us means that like you have a cold and your nose is all like stuffed up.
Oh, we have that too, but like you've messed up, basically.
Okay, yes. Okay. So you got that one. I'll give you that one. I love that I didn't know your answer. That's so great. All right. Now, number 2. If I told you that I had a Whopper for dinner, where would you think I had eaten?
Hungry Jacks.
I knew you were going to say that. So in America, we have Burger King. And there was actually this big thing. I didn't even know this. I knew that you guys didn't have Burger King. So I knew that that was like the question, right? But when I was looking into this, I do no research for my interviews, but spent way too long on this. But I found out that I guess Burger King was franchised in Australia, and there was already a local company with the name. So they started calling it Hungry Jack's. So it's the same company. But
yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I've never eaten at a Hungry Jack's. I've never seen one.
I feel like it tastes better because it's called Hungry Jack's.
Oh my God. You guys have such pride over there. It's amazing. All right. So, speaking of food, if you had to pick one of the two, would you rather eat shrimp or a jelly sandwich?
Jelly sandwich, which I know you mean jam.
All right, so you've gotten onto that one. All right, fair. What is a jelly for y'all? For those listening,
it's like a gelatinous, blobby dessert.
Right. Okay. So you wouldn't put that between 2 pieces of bread.
No.
And
also, shrimp sounds like weird. Shrimp is like a tiny little like crustacean. Like
right. What do you call them? The ones that you would eat?
Prawns.
Right. Yeah.
Prawns. Yeah.
I'm having too much fun with this. Okay, now this next question, I just have to ask: when you go out, do you often wear thongs?
Yeah.
And
every day.
Do people see them?
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
We all wear thongs.
Do you know what that means over here?
Yes.
I don't think you're wandering around in G-strings, but you know.
Well, don't yuck my yum, but no, honestly.
You just got so many more followers with it.
No, thongs are great. Everyone wears them. Like, everyone wears them. Prime Minister wears them. Everyone wears thongs.
Amazing.
But yeah, very different to what you guys are thinking of.
Right. Yeah. No. Well, and it's so funny to me because we call them flip-flops. And and it seems like such an Aussie thing because a lot of us, like, I call them flippies, and that just seems like something that y'all would do with how. Don't give me that look. You guys shorten all of the words that you can. You call documentaries docos. Come on.
Yeah, basically anything that you would think the word would be, just add an O, like bottle-o. Doco. I wish I was prepared. I want to test you on all of them and see if you know what I'm talking about.
This is too much fun. All right, one more.
Uh-huh.
All right, so I'm going to spell a word for you, and I want you to say it, but then I also want you to tell me how many syllables the word has, okay? And it's a very simple one. N-O.
No.
And how many syllables do you think that was?
Technically one.
And how many?
Wait, how did...
It was like N-O-U-R or something.
How do you say no?
No. I say an N and then I say an O. I say no.
Yeah, right. So do I just sound so Australian to you?
You sound sour Australian to me.
So Australian.
Sour Australian. And I cannot do an Aussie accent to save my life. Anytime I try, it becomes a weird, like, not even British like you would expect, but I start doing a weird, like, Southern accent. It goes terribly. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah. I will admit, when you think about what we say, like even Tuesday, like I say it with a CH.
Yeah.
Monday,
you also say H
Tuesday.
instead of H.
Oh, wow.
Although I will give you that you guys say a word correctly that in the US we say very wrong.
What's that?
Aluminum, or as you would
Yeah.
say, aluminium.
Yeah, aluminium.
Yeah, which is actually
Correct.
how it's spelled. So I'll give you that one. Although then because you're Aussies and weird, you probably call it like aloe or something.
Probably.
All right. Well, this has been a lot of fun and very goofy. Thanks for being on the pod. No, I'm kidding. We should actually do a real interview now. So, all right. So moving on to the actual, stuff that we do on this podcast. Let's talk about you and let's talk about kind of how you figured out that you want this career and how you got to where you are.
Well, I've always wanted to work with animals. I have loved them from a very, very young age. So I was actually one of those kids that when I was like 4 was like, I'm going to be a zookeeper. That's what I want to do.
Nice.
A lot of people said they want to be a vet or like that kind of thing. But I just wanted to work with animals. And I really stuck to my guns. And and here I am a zookeeper at 30. So yeah, I've just always been surrounded by animals, always had jobs and occupations regarding them, around them. And I just have fallen into it and I absolutely love it.
No, that's awesome. And since you mentioned your age, that you just turned 30, happy birthday. And you have to tell everyone what you did for your birthday.
Well, I love a dress-up party. And so I had a tea-themed party because my name's Tessa. So you have to come in something starting with tea, and I came as the Tooth Fairy.
It was so good. It was so cute. When I saw that picture, when we started talking about doing all of this stuff, because I'd been talking to Daisy a little bit more first, your partner in podcasting, and I saw that picture and I was like, oh, we're going to be friends. You can be goofy. I like the goofy ones. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about that.
Daisy dressed up as Taylor Swift, so you would have loved that.
Oh, of course, yes, yeah. I'm a big Swiftie. It's true. So awesome, yeah. And so when you say that you grew up and always knew that you wanted to do this, how did you shape your life because of that? Like in the States, you kind of have to have like a 4-year college degree or uni degree, if you will. And so I'm just curious, what your path was.
Well, I worked in a pet shop when I was really young. I did dog walking and animal feeding when people were on holidays when I was young, and could just walk to their houses and do that. Just always wanted to be surrounded by animals. And then I did a bit of caring on the side. I couldn't even drive, and my dear dad was helping me pick up injured bin chickens around, possums and that kind of stuff. So we have an organization, a charity called RSPCA. So I was a volunteer with them. And then I volunteered at my sanctuary that I work at as well as working in the retail. So basically I was just doing everything I could to weasel my way into the animal side. And then got a job working with the animals when I was 18.
Nice. Okay. And what was that job?
That was with the koalas. So I'd volunteered for 6 months and straight into being a koala keeper. And yeah, it was incredible.
Now, I mean, I know we're going to spend a lot of time talking about free flight raptors and stuff, but I need to delay and talk about the koalas and what that experience was like. Koalas are incredible.
They are so beautiful. Honestly, how you feel about red pandas, I still feel about koalas. They are just such beautiful animals, and we're just so lucky to have them as our icon, and they should be. They deserve it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I have seen them many places in the US, but mainly at the San Diego Zoo. And I was behind the scenes at the koala area of the San Diego Zoo once, and one had gotten down from its tree and was interacting with me. I couldn't touch it, but it was right at its gate, and it was reaching up, trying to reach me. And I'm very careful when I'm at a facility. I will never, I would never touch an animal without permission. I have never been more tempted to break that rule. And when that part of the tour was over and they were like, John, come on, we got to go. I didn't even hear them calling my name. I was so absorbed. And then I looked up and I was like, oh, what? Sorry. Okay. And but they're just very special.
They're so sweet. They're just so cute and beautiful temperaments. Yeah, they're a really beautiful animal.
Yeah. And is there a large population of them where you work?
At Lone Pine, for sure, we have over 120, I believe.
Whoa.
So lots of beautiful koalas. Yeah,
That's
it's
amazing.
amazing.
Now, how did the wildfires impact the population there? And I mean, I know in general it was decimated, but did that, what impact did that have on Lone Pine and on everything there?
Well, thankfully, our koala population wasn't affected, but can't say the same for all the wild koalas in lots of different states. So, yeah, throughout the years, there's been numerous really large, devastating fires. So, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia have been hit big time over the last few years, and it's just absolutely decimated their numbers. So, basically, it's just awful the amount of koalas that there once was, and now there's just so few. It's very sad. So that's why these populations in human care are so important, because we need to basically spread that message.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have a favorite koala at Lone Pine?
I used to. Admittedly, I haven't been with the koalas for a long, long time. But there was this one called Wisely years ago, and he was so cute. He was so, so cute.
Aw, love that. Okay, so I'm really curious because obviously, if you're doing free flight raptor training now, you have to be a heck of a trainer. And since you didn't go through like what would be standard over here with 4-year degree and learning a lot of that stuff and everything, how did you first get into training, and what were some of the early training things that you did?
Well, there is a course here called a Certificate 3 in Captive Animals, which they've changed the names now. But I did do my Cert 3 and 4 in Captive Animals. But that was once I already had a keeping position. And a lot of places in Australia do like to see people who have volunteered first. So it's not necessarily the university degree. They'd like to see this TAFE certificate. And yeah, so I learnt on the job. So lots of training from keepers who had more experience in free flight raptors. So they trained me.
Very cool. What was the like first training experience that you had that stands out to you?
Basically, I was so overwhelmed, like walking in and seeing these raptors, like you got wedge-tailed eagles and owls and everything screeching at you, and I was like, oh, holy moly. And even something like a little barn owl for me was intimidating. Like they can sometimes like put their wings up and snap their beak and be like, and I was like, oh my gosh. And meanwhile, this thing weighs less than a can of soft drink or soda, as you would say.
Well done. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And I was like, oh gosh, this is terrifying. And asking this owl to step up, I was like, this is terrifying. But yeah, it's incredible. It's that was my first impression.
All right, that's awesome. I very much appreciated your impression of the owl, by the way. Thank you for that. Thank you. We're talking about training stuff here, and we're talking about first experiences and everything. And now you are running free flight raptor shows. Do you ever pause and just think about how far you've come?
Yes, absolutely. I actually had that today. I had no concept of training. I didn't have any experience. I didn't know what a queue was. I didn't know what a bridge was. I knew what a reward was, but I've had a few rewards, but I had no concept, and it was a whole new world to me, and I loved it. And now I'm on a training podcast, which is bizarre. So I love it, and I've come a long way. And even today, I was like, wow, I have learned a lot over the years, and you never stop learning. And yeah, there's still so much more to learn, and I love it. It's so good.
Do you have anything that inspires you or like that helped educate you early on?
I have some good mentors for sure. My curator that I work with, he's great, and he's always helped me. Like I think I was always very self-conscious and very aware that I didn't know much, and I think that helped that it wasn't pointed out. It was kind of like, yeah, we'll help you and we'll learn together kind of thing, and I'll teach you. So that was great, having a good mentor for sure.
Very cool. I love that. So let's take a moment and talk about some of the actual birds in question that you're currently working with. So I'll just give you the floor. Talk about a couple of them, and I want to hear not just like species, but like names, personalities, behaviors that they do, all that good stuff.
Okay, well, we have a lot of different species that you probably will be like, have no concept. But, the famous one is, of course, a wedge-tailed eagle. So they're Australia's largest raptor or largest eagle. They are big and impressive. And I know y'all think that the bald eagle is cool. Okay, yeah, they're cool. But the wedge-tailed eagle can hunt together and take down something the size of a kangaroo.
Whoa.
So that's for context how cool these guys are. Like, they've got big, powerful feet, and yeah, they're just so impressive. So
that's really
wedgies,
cool.
Yeah.
Did you say wedgies?
Awesome. Yeah, wedgies.
You call them wedgies? Come on,
wedgies.
Australia. Wedgies are when you get your underwear stuck up your butt, like a thong.
Yeah, for sure. No, actually, the other day I was holding a wedgie and I couldn't answer my radio, and someone was like, "Oh, Tess can't pick up. Sorry, she can't answer. She has a wedgie." And I was like, "Oh no!" Everyone thinks that I have a wedgie on the radio, but I'm holding a wedgie.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Language is so fun. No, but that is so. I love. So, I think bald eagles are the most overrated bird in the country, but I have gotten to spend some time with golden eagles, and they are just incredible. And I would love to come and see your wedgie when I eventually get to Australia.
Yeah, mate.
That sounds incredible.
You can see my wedgie. Yeah, for sure.
This is what happens when you podcast at 4:30 in the morning. I'm just saying.
Come to Australia and see my wedgie. Like, that sounds weird.
Oh man, sounds like something that the tourism department needs to start to advertise. But
Yeah,
so you have a wedgie, and what is your wedgie's name?
We have a couple of wedgies,
okay.
But my favorite is Omega. Oh, actually, I love Spirit too. Oh, geez, I love them. They've got such different personalities.
Tell me about them.
So Omega is quite sassy, but once he likes you, you're in, and that's really rewarding. Like, I was terrified of him when I started because he'd be like, "Oh," and just act like a big man and be all scary. And then once he likes you, like, he puts his head on your shoulder and you can kiss his eyelids and just give him a smush under the wings. Like, he's beautiful. So to have that connection after all these years is really rewarding. But yeah, we've got countless species that are just incredible. Like, you guys have barn owls, but there's a species called the barking owl that I love.
Okay.
And they bark. They go woof 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 woof. Which is cool.
That's amazing.
I swear they actually do.
You. That's amazing.
And so we've got barking owls. We've got lots of different kites too, which are really clever. I just love working with kites. They're so intelligent, like smarter than me. Like, that's not hard, but like they're so switched on. So yeah, lots of different species, lots of different personalities. I love them all.
All right. Okay. Well, we'll come back to some of those, but I have to ask, you've mentioned this multiple times now, and that is that you started off in this position afraid of the birds you were going to work with. And like, you were already working at the place. So how the hell did you let that happen? And like, why did you take the job and all that?
Well, not afraid. Like, you have to keep in mind too, I was like 19-year-old Tess or something when I worked with the raptors for the first time. So not a lot of confidence. And I'd been working with soft, cuddly koalas that are just, so sweet and easygoing. And okay, I do sound like a bit of a baby saying that I'm afraid of them, but they can be quite intimidating.
Well, no, I know, but I mean, I'm asking for a reason. I promise I'm not picking on you here. I'm honestly asking because I find it intriguing. Like, what made you take a job with animals that scared you?
I have always loved birds. Like, birds are my passion. My nickname is Birdie in my family, and I'm still Birdie. And yeah, I saw these free flight shows and I loved it. And I loved it so much and I wanted to be involved. So I wouldn't say I was scared. It was just like a bit of hesitation when you're walking into their space and they're like, who are you? And you're like, ah. So yeah, no, it's been awesome.
No, that's really cool. I think that's, inspirational, honestly, that like you would go from being afraid or intimidated or whatever word you want to use to working with them and building those relationships. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm curious if, as a trainer, you found it harder to build a relationship with animals early on that you were intimidated by, because like animals can obviously read what we are thinking, feeling, all that kind of stuff. So did you find that you had to work harder at it or anything? I mean, obviously you were successful. You're still doing the thing. I'm just curious what that was like for you.
I think as well, keeping in mind, if you've never worked with a species before, you have no idea what they're telling you, you know. So if they've got their wings up and they're snapping their beak, like you're saying, oh, okay, this seems weird. Like, you know, there's a lot to read and you don't know what's like empty threats, or you don't know what's their normal morning stretching routine, or you don't know what's like a bit of a flex. So yeah, there's a lot to take on in those early stages, because you have to learn different behaviors of different species and different individuals' behaviors as well.
Makes sense. So what kind of stuff do you do in these free flight shows, other than, you know, just free flight, obviously?
Well, more than half of our collection have come in with injuries. So we have kites that have been entangled in fishing line, an eagle that was shot, another one that was hit by a car. Others have been taken out of the nest by people. Basically, if you look at it, it's always human involvement. But we demonstrate their natural behaviors. So a Brahminy kite will catch a fish and will rake fish off the surface.
Pause. How do you do that? Like, go into detail with that. That sounds incredible.
So we have this Brahminy kite called Zephyr, who's come in from the wild over a decade ago with fishing line entangled around his foot. So he doesn't have the foot grip strength to survive. Raptors need really powerful feet for grasping prey. So he's in our free flight show, flies every day in front of the audience. And then we have this fake fish that we've made out of leather. We pop it on his ponds and it like floats and it's lightweight and it's got little easy straps, and he grabs it. He rakes and shows that natural hunting or raking behavior, brings it to us, and then we give him a real fish. So
that's so cool.
Yeah, it's really nice that he still gets to do that. So lots of things like that. So demonstrating how they would hunt naturally. We've got other kites that catch insects in the air, so we'll throw little bits of food up, they catch it. Eagles catch their prey on the ground. So those wedge-tailed eagles will catch like rabbits and things. So we can have them chase like a lure that's similar to a rabbit that they'll catch. So yeah, things like that, just to demonstrate how they would be acting out there in the wild.
That sounds like a really involved show.
Yeah, it's very fun. And obviously we try to have every show be a bit different if people are visitors that come all the time. So the morning show is different to the afternoon show. So you might have kites and owls in the first show and eagles and falcons in the second show. So lots of varying species and individuals and flying styles as well.
Wow, that's really cool. So I have to admit, I have not done any looking. I never do. I like to learn from people, but into Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary. And it sounds like a much bigger and kind of more, like I was picturing like just like a sanctuary with some koalas and a couple like rehabbed raptors and stuff. But I mean, you're talking triple digit koalas. You're talking the coolest bird show I've ever heard of. Tell me a little bit more about Lone Pine.
Oh, it's a beautiful sanctuary. I feel like it's hidden in Brisbane City. Like it's literally in the suburbs. This beautiful sanctuary, and it has koalas, kangaroos, lots of reptiles, lots of birds, a really good free flight bird show. It's just awesome. And it's one of those little sanctuaries that isn't too overwhelming. You know how sometimes those big zoos, you're like, man, I got to wear my good shoes. I got to have this backpack and walk around for 9 hours. Like, you can do it in a few hours, and that's all you need. It's awesome. We've also got this really big croc and this awesome new croc exhibit. And I saw them feeding him today, and he jumps out of the water and grabs the food. Like, it's cool. Like, it's a cool place to work. I'm very lucky to work there.
Nice. That's awesome. Are there any other shows or anything?
Yeah, there'll be a croc feeding demonstration. And there's a sheepdog show as well.
Wait, what? Stop. What? A sheepdog show?
Sheepdog show.
Tell me everything.
Well, here in Australia, we have a lot of sheep. We're the largest producers of wool. So we got
well, you got that going for you, which is nice.
Well, yeah, so a lot of sheep, and obviously they all have to come back and get their wool shorn every year. So every single one of them. So we have a lot of working dogs. So they're Kelpies and Border Collies. So it's basically on a very small scale, a demonstration of how those working dogs will round up the sheep and push them through different little obstacles and through little runs and stuff. So yeah, it's really cool, actually.
That sounds incredible. That sounds so incredible. I love that so much. Very cool. And you said that you're all native wildlife right there.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I have to ask if you happen to have one of my favorite species, and I'll just cut this if you don't. Why do your eyes get so big? It's like, I'm not putting you on the spot here. You've worked at this place forever. You know what's up.
Yeah, but what if you say something and I'm like, no, sorry.
I said we'll cut it. That's the beauty of editing. Do you have a platypus?
We do have a platypus.
That's so
We have 2 of them, and they're incredible. Mate, you should see my Insta. I just put up a platypus sleeping in its little box, and it's curled up and it's going like
okay, first of all, cute. How did I not see this since we are Insta friends? And second of all,
I only uploaded it like half an hour ago, so I'll let it slide.
That's how.
And it's like 4 a.m. in your time, so
I'm looking at it right now. This is the cutest thing I have ever seen. Oh my gosh, I love it so much. That's amazing.
Yeah. They're so cool.
Tell me about your platypus. Platypuses? Platypi. Platypodes? Help me out here.
Platypuses.
Okay.
Platypuses.
Not that I can really trust language from an Aussie, but all right.
I'm going to tell you it's platypusy, and you'll be like, oh, okay.
I would absolutely believe it. It would be on the podcast. You're not wrong.
No, we have 2 platypus, and Barak and Aruna.
Wait. And you just said it's platypuses, and then you said we have 2 platypus. Make up your mind.
Did I?
You just...
2 platypus. I'm pretty sure it's platypus.
Okay. This is good.
But I'm going to tell you something different. And they're awesome. They have this really naturalistic display with this cool little water feature, and they swim around, and they also have this back of house tunneling system, so they can go back in their artificial burrows, and that's what that little video is one falling asleep and catching some Z's, not Z's, in its little sleeping nest box. So cute.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, we have 2 platypuses in the U.S. at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park, and I have seen them both multiple times and gone behind the scenes there. And they also have the artificial burrow setup that you're talking about and everything, and it's just incredible.
Yeah, they're so cool.
I love that. I also did Google while we were talking, and it is official. It is platypuses.
Platypuses.
Although you can use platypi, but it is less common. But it is still legal. I don't know if legal is the word, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, platypi sounds like a maths equation or something. Yeah,
platypi sounds like what I would call them because I like having fun with words. But and then so we're going to talk a little bit more about birds, I promise. But there is an animal that I have basically been very calm by not talking about this entire time. And you know what's coming because we've talked about this off air. But y'all recently got a Lumholtz tree kangaroo. And Lumholtz tree kangaroos are, for those listening, one of the two species that is native to Australia. And you have not, if you've listened to every episode of Rossifari, you have heard about Matchie's tree kangaroos and Goodfellow's tree kangaroos out the wazoo, but you have not heard of a Lumholtz yet. So please tell me literally everything about your Lumholtz tree kangaroo and how soon I can visit it.
Yeah, I am on the same page with you. Tree kangaroos are awesome. We have one called Rocky, and he has come from Tree Rescue up north in the Atherton tablelands. So that's where our Lumholtz tree kangaroos are, just up in the north of my state of Queensland.
I love that rescue so much. I love it so much. Yes. I want to go volunteer there. That's
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you were saying on our podcast that you want to go volunteer at Tree Rescue, and you absolutely should. Like, yeah, that would be incredible. You would love it for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is one of the tree roos from there. Obviously, Karen Coombs at Tree Rescue has a lot of tree roos and limited space. So he has come in from the wild, I believe, with eye injury and unreleasable. So he's here with us at Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary, and he's in this new exhibit now, and it is phenomenal. He has this big fig tree, and it's like exhibit is awesome. So yeah, he'll be living his best life in there, and he's very cool. It's taken a bit of time, but he's got great rapport with his keepers now, and he'll, as you saw, he'll eat chickpeas out of your hand. So he's a cool guy for sure.
I want to feed him chickpeas. Also, I'm impressed that you say chickpeas because I thought y'all called them garbanzo beans.
What the hell is a garbanzo bean?
Do we call them garbanzo beans? And this is so weird. A garbanzo bean is a chickpea.
God, but that sounds made up.
I mean, to be fair, all language is made up, but you know. Amazing. No, so he's building a rapport. How long has he been there? Because this is like a brand new thing, right?
Yeah, he's only been here for 1 year. And he was having his amazing exhibit made in this time. So he's kind of been off display, actually right behind the raptor area. His off display exhibit was sick. Like it was so cool. And I didn't think it could get any better. But now he's got this massive big tree that he can be in on display. So yeah, it's awesome.
Nice. Next time you get a chance to feed him some garbanzo beans, think of me.
I will. I'll take a video.
Yes. Oh, I will always take photos and videos of your tree kangaroo, just so you know. Anytime you stop by, you can hook me up.
Okay.
Yeah, it is cool that y'all have a Lumholtz. I'm so excited because this is like a relatively new thing in Australia. Can you talk about that at all?
Having tree kangaroos,
Lumholtz tree kangaroos in managed care.
Yeah. To be honest, the breeding programs at other facilities are incredible, and I hope and I believe Lone Pine will be on that page too at some stage. They're such an awesome species, and I know that we mentioned this last week when we spoke. Wow, that was this week, but it's cool that people can see them on display because they are just a mind-blowing animal. And even me as an Australian didn't really know much about them, hadn't seen them before. So to see them, you're just like, what is that? That is so cool.
Yeah, I really love it. And I know, so it used to be that Goodfellows and Matchies were all throughout the world in zoos and such. And then the decision was made to put all of the Matchies in the US and Canada, and all of the Goodfellows in Australia and Europe. And Lumholtz just weren't going to get any love. And it was literally just the zoos of Australia talking to Karen at the Tree Kangaroo Rescue and saying, like, we want to help you and we want to help save these animals, that have led to this happening recently. And now all these facilities are getting Lumholtz. And I think it's so beautiful because it's literally like just the zoological community coming together to help save these animals.
Yeah, it's awesome. And yeah, like we said, like the potential for all these facilities to have breeding programs and be that population in human care. That's cool. There's a lot of potential there.
That is, yeah, there is a lot of potential there. And you know, while we've been talking about this, there's been a word that we've both avoided, and you mentioned earlier that you had this word in your studies, but you're trying not to use it anymore. And I haven't really talked about this much on my podcast, but y'all did an incredible episode about it on yours. So can you explain just briefly why we're not talking about having Lumholtz, you know, tree kangaroos in captivity?
Well, I honestly hadn't thought about it much until we spoke about it on that episode. When you think of the word captive or captivity, you picture like behind bars, or it creates this kind of emotive feeling of being confined. And there's a lot to do with these words creating an association without even realizing it. So when you say this animal has come in from the wild and is now in human care, that sounds so much better than like this animal came from the wild and now it's in captivity. Like that sounds hectic. Like it's in human care. It's had a hectic life out in the wild. It has to be in human care. It has to be in zoological facilities. It just has nicer connotations, and it basically implies that the care that they receive is well deserved. And yeah, I like it. I've been really trying to not use the word captivity. I'm glad you noticed.
Yeah, no, I did. And I really loved the episode y'all did on that. If y'all are listening to this podcast, like I said, go and check out their podcast. But in particular, I think it was episode 6, I want to say. But it's right in the title, and it says to not use, not using the word captivity. And I think it's really helpful.
Yeah, that's Colleen who did that episode. And obviously she explained it a lot better than me. I'm not very good with explanations, but the way she explains it is just like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a really great episode. Highly recommend it. All right, so let's fly on back to your birds. And, you say that you're not great at explaining things, but I don't know, you do really good impressions of multiple birds, so... that's something.
Yeah, well, what a flex.
So I just want to hear about a couple more of the individuals, because you started off with some of the individuals and then you were like, okay, and then we have owls and other birds and they fly. So tell me about 2 or 3 other birds that you really love and have cool personalities, or that are really challenging. Just make my listeners fall in love with your birds.
Okay, can do. Well, in terms of the species, the barking owl, love them. There is one individual called Bo who is so beautiful and so pure. I've never seen her show an iota of irritation or frustration or anything. She's just so beautiful. So regardless of how I'm feeling or what's happening in my day, I just look at that bird or just go and see her, and my spirit is lifted. Just so beautiful, so beautiful. She was a hand raised, so she's just got a particularly sweet, affectionate personality. So, boy, I get happy thinking about her. I love her. She's a beautiful bird. I love this kite Zephyr. I think the fact that he came in from the wild, the Brahminy kite, and he was so shy. He would see someone 200 meters away and be like, oh, and just be so upset and just so nervous. And so we had a long way to go to have him be this bird that has come in from the wild and had this injury and has a lot of hesitation around people, to eventually be in our free flight shows, sharing his plight and his conservational message. And now that we have gained his confidence, so it was just a matter of feeding him and lots of positive reinforcement hundreds of meters away from people, or people would be doing the free flight shows and you'd just be in the background creepily with Zephyr, feeding him, reinforcing him and just being like, look, audiences aren't so bad. And he'd be like, oh, okay. And yeah, to have him now fly in our free flight shows is just such an achievement. And to see his confidence improve too is really cool. So I love him. He's very cheeky. And we'll try to outsmart us, if you change a cue slightly, or if you're like, oh yeah, that was pretty much it, and reward something, the next day he'll try it. Be like, oh, well, yesterday my foot landed here and I still got rewarded. So you're like, damn it, you are smarter than me. So yeah, I love him. Zeph, Bo, Omega, the wedgie. Oh, yeah, I love them. There's lots of big personalities.
I love that. And I just on a side note, I'm a huge Star Wars nerd, and there's a series called The Bad Batch where the young protagonist is voiced by an Aussie actor, and her name is Omega. And so whenever they say Omega, they say it like you say it.
Omega.
Yeah, and I'm like, hearing you say that, I'm like, that's so good.
Well, actually, it sounds a lot better when you say it. Omega. Omega. There's no way I could do that.
I have this mental image that, I'm going to get to Australia and you and Daisy and I are going to hang out, and Daisy and I will be having normal conversations and you and I will just be trying to speak like each other the entire time.
Do y'all want to come feed the tree kangaroo some, what did you say?
Garbanzo beans.
I was like, spaghetti noodles.
Yes, spaghetti spadiddles. That's what we call them here in the States. Spaghetti spadiddles.
That's it.
Amazing. Oh my goodness. So before we get on to our last couple of questions, let's talk about your podcast for a moment. So what led you to decide that you want to be doing this and doing this with Daisy?
Well, we both went to a conference, the ASZK conference, and I have been to a number of conferences and just love the environment. Just being in that kind of environment with all these passionate people is just so cool. Like, I live and breathe that. So we were there at this conference. It was the ATC one as well. So some big names there: Ken Ramirez, Tim Sullivan, all the hot shots. Susan Friedman zoomed in as well, like just loving it. And we kind of jokingly said, like, we should do a podcast. And I was like, yeah, we should do a podcast. I'd probably had like a few wines. I was like, yeah, Daisy sounds good. Not really thinking much of it, but Daisy's a very determined woman. You probably noticed because she's emailed you 42 times and Tess has just been like, what are we doing?
You're literally like, in our group chat, you're literally like, cool.
Can somebody tell me how to open Zoom? No, that's me. And she just was like, let's do it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then next thing I know, she's at my house and she's opening up Zoom and she's turning on these mics and she's like, let's do it. And I was like, yeah, okay, let's do it, Daisy. And it's true. It's been so rewarding. And as you would know, like, your podcast, like, up there, we're like the little newbies starting it. It's very time consuming. So I guess I was quite naive as to how time consuming it would be, but it's very rewarding and it's so much fun. Like, even this, like, I've made a new friend and I just met you on the internet like the other day. Like, it's so cool. I love it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's very cool. What's been your favorite impact, like, that you've seen, like somebody else talking to you about the impact that the podcast has had on them?
Well, there's a few people at my workplace even who have never mentioned the word training. They've just, husbandry is life, and they're brilliant keepers. Like, they're incredible keepers, and they have probably just been in the zookeeping world a really long time. And they're like, wow, Tess, like, I've been listening to your podcast and that's so true. Or like, there's a lot of potential there, or, oh, I really like this. And to think that these people have kind of, open their mindset or a little bit more open-minded to training and that kind of thing is really refreshing and really rewarding for me, for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. Are there any conservation organizations that you would like to give a shout out to? Yes.
I obviously love flying foxes or bats.
Yes.
If anyone follows my Instagram, there's going to be a lot of flying fox content. Wow, she got there.
Yeah, there we go.
She got there eventually. It's getting close to my bedtime now. And I love flying foxes. So the group that I'm a part of is BCRQ, Bat Conservation and Rescue Queensland. And so that's my shout out. They do such good work. They have all these different carers like myself, and they provide everything. So they provide you all your little mama rolls, all your wraps, milk, teats, that kind of stuff. So I love the work that they do. And every single one of those little flying foxes, like they might be orphaned because they're from bushfires or electrocuted or entangled in fruit netting and that kind of stuff. Every single one of those little orphans will get re-released back out in there into the wild. So that group does such amazing work.
That's awesome. I love flying foxes. I have a pink sweatshirt that has an upside down flying fox that says "Save the Sky Puppies" that a friend of mine designed and then donated money, to their rescue and rehab and stuff. So yeah, big fan of the Sky Puppies. That's awesome.
They really are sky puppies. Like they're just the big bulbous eyes and their sweet little faces. Yeah, I love them. Definitely.
So awesome. And then I actually lied because I do have one more question I'd meant to ask before, but I don't write anything down and I make this up. So before we get to our final moments, you mentioned, it's a free flight show. Are you guys in a covered area? Do you have netting up or anything? Or is it free skies and just all training?
Free skies and just training.
Nice.
Yeah, it's an awesome setting. Like we have seats that will open up to this big wide space, and the birds have the capabilities to fly wherever they like. They all wear tracking devices, of course, so just in case they're chased off course by other species. But yeah, all free flighted and a lot of room to work with. So it's very fun.
Nice. Have you ever had a fly off that scares you a little bit, or is it just part of the job?
Not really. I'm going to touch wood here, but I've been free flying raptors for 10 years, and I've only tracked a bird once.
Nice.
And she was just over the river, so we could probably see her with binoculars from the sanctuary, but there was a river between us, and she just got chased by wild. I think it was another wild peregrine, actually, from the top of my head. So it's not often because they are trained to stay within the area and they see that area as their territory, but it's a nice little safety measure to have those little trackers just in case.
No, definitely. That's very cool. Awesome. I love that. Very cool. And then it is time. It's time now, don't you know? We've come to the end of the show, but there's one tale left to go. You're gonna laugh and say, oh no. It's time for the Rossifari poop story.
I was racking my brain before. I don't know if it's overly exciting, but obviously I used to work with koalas. Koalas do a lot of poos. They do like a couple hundred poos a day. And I was cleaning a koala exhibit like literally 10 years ago. And obviously I bent underneath a really low branch, and I've been scrubbing the poles, like cleaning, making it all nice. And I've just like scraped from my spine all the way to the top of my pants and been unawares. And so everyone was just like, Tess, you've got a little something on your back. And I just had this like poo stain, like which looks like brown poo, like as you can imagine, from like it's like 30 centimeters, man, like all the way to the top of my pants. And I was like, that's nasty. So that's what I think of when I think of a poo story, because I remember being like, it's koala poo, I swear. Like, yeah, like it was not good. Amazing. I also just have to point out, because, we have been this whole episode, but you said that you need to touch wood, and here we say knock on wood. And I don't know, it's just those little things that crack me up. And you very much like you made your pointer finger gently touch like the wood. And I would, if I would knock on the wood. That's, yeah. That's amazing.
So what I have learned today more than anything is that Australian women wear thongs and touch wood. Okay. Mm. And get wedgies. Oh, can't forget about the wedgies.
Whoa. This just went somewhere else.
Thank you so much. This has been an absolute blast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun.
All right, so there you have it, folks. An awesome experience talking to Tess. I had way too much fun doing that, as I'm sure y'all could tell. I am going to miss this collaboration so stinking much, even though I know we're going to do more stuff down the line. But this has been honestly some of the most inspired I have ever been to make my podcast and grow my podcast. I often think about the podcast and get inspired by the keepers and by the work I see being done. But just in terms of wanting to get out of bed at 4 o'clock in the morning to record an episode of Rossifari, I got to tell you, man, these two really, really inspired the heck out of me. So I hope you all have enjoyed this. I hope you go and check them out. Again, the podcast is called Trainer Talks and Tales, and I really want you to subscribe. I really want you to listen. I really want you to follow them on Instagram. They do much better design work than I ever will for Rossifari. And so, yeah, I appreciated this so much. Tessa, Daisy, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being a part of all of this. It's been a blast. I also want to remind everyone who's listening that you can support the Rossifari podcast by going to patreon.com/Rossifari. And for as little as $3 a month, you can get bonus content from many of the episodes and some other cool stuff, including some fun behind the scenes stories of my own life and stuff that I post from time to time. And and I want to thank everyone who already is a patron, especially my Red Panda level patrons, Dr. Laura Shank, Dr. Stephen Williamson, and Barbara Bennett. Thank you all so much. And remember, friends, for the last time in this collaboration, but nowhere near the last time on the Rossifari podcast, I just need to remind y'all that the word credits backwards is Steiderk. The Rossifari podcast is produced, hosted, and engineered by John Rossi. Editing and fact-checking by John and Dr. Zoe Rossi. Our theme song is Sevens by Nathan Burke, performed by Nathan and John. Interrupting John theme and additional voices by Taylor Isaac Gray. You can reach John directly on Instagram and Facebook at Rossifari or by email at rossifaripod@gmail.com. Rossifari is part of the Daydreamer Media Network. Now, stop listening to me and go visit a zoo.